Saudi Arabia threatens the United States. The world reels from earthquakes in diverse places, and it appears people in Syria may have more freedom than we here in the United States. This is SkyWatch TV for Monday, April 18th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, another provocative move by a Russian pilot. The U.S. Air Force reconnaissance plane was buzzed by a Russian jet over the Baltic Sea last Thursday. The Su-27 fighter did a barrel roll over the top of the American plane, the RC-135, coming within about 50 feet of the plane. Spokesman for U.S. European Command said the move was erratic, aggressive, unsafe, and unprofessional. Russia's Ministry of Defense, in response, said that its plane was simply responding to intercept an unknown target approaching Russian airspace at high speed. Now, this follows another encounter last week in the Baltic, where an Su-24 reportedly flew within 30 feet of the USS Donald Cook, which is a destroyer equipped with the Aegis combat system. This is almost becoming a seasonal thing for the crew of the Cook. 2 years ago to the day, it was buzzed by an Su-24 in the Black Sea. And at the time, Russian media claimed that the electronic warfare system on the Su-24 disabled the Aegis combat system, which, if true, would be really disturbing. The American media, or the Navy, and spokespersons for Lockheed Martin, the manufacturer of the Aegis combat system, deny the Russian reports. Now, as if provocation with Russia wasn't enough, Defense Secretary Carter visited a U.S. aircraft carrier as it sailed through disputed waters in the South China Sea. Speaking in the Philippines last Thursday, Carter announced the U.S. would increase its military presence there. China's accusing the U.S. of sabotaging regional peace by beefing up its military presence. And then Carter flew out to the USS John C. Stennis on Friday as it sailed through the South China Sea, where China claims nearly all of those waters. There are competing claims from Malaysia, the Sultanate of Brunei, the Philippines, Vietnam. About a third of the world's sea cargo sails through the South China Sea. A major oops for NATO. A manual marked restricted and full of code words, ciphers, coordinates, and radio frequencies for military drills planned for later this month was somehow emailed to a group of fishermen and ferry operators in Scotland. Joint Warrior 161 will involve 40 aircraft, 22 ships, 4 submarines, and thousands of troops from dozens of NATO countries, and now apparently a group of Scottish fishermen. A major earthquake in Ecuador Saturday has killed at least 350 people. Thousands more are injured. The quake measured magnitude 7.8, hit at 6:58 p.m. Central Time on Saturday night. There have been more than 230 aftershocks so far, some as intense as magnitude 6. The number of casualties there is expected to rise considerably in the days ahead. This came just a day after a magnitude 7.3 earthquake in southern Japan, which followed a magnitude 6.5 on Thursday. Dozens were killed there, thousands injured. The city of Fukuoka, about 55 miles from the epicenter, was covered by a mysterious foam after the quake. Nobody knows where it came from. There have been theories, a broken pipe underground, fire suppression foam from a fire truck, but nobody knows for sure. It is still a mystery. Now, I went to the U.S. Geological Service website just to look at the number of reported quakes in Japan over the last week, because it seemed like we've been getting a lot of reports. And I was right, 46 of them magnitude 4.5 or greater in the last 7 days alone. Now look at this. Now, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but does it look to you as though this island, which is the southwesternmost of Japan's major islands, is trying to split in half along that line? Just asking. Saudi Arabia tells the U.S. government it's going to take its marbles and go home. Congress is considering legislation that would allow the Saudi government to be held accountable in U.S. courts for any role it might have played in the 9/11 attacks. The Senate bill would make it clear that diplomatic immunity should not apply in cases where nations are found culpable for acts of terror on American soil. New York Times reports that the Saudis, in response, have told the Obama administration and members of Congress that it will sell off hundreds of billions of dollars worth of U.S. treasuries if the bill passes. Saudi Arabia holds the third largest reserve of U.S. assets in the world, behind only Japan and China. Now, Obama and his administration opposed the bill, and they've been lobbying Congress to block it. But the big question here is the one asked by the financial guys at the website zerohedge.com. If the Saudis draw down all of their U.S. dollar assets, who will monetize the U.S. budget deficit? Because it sure won't be China. China has been selling off treasuries over the last 2 years, about $780 billion worth, to be exact. So there's not a lot of liquidity in that market for new bonds going on the market, cause interest rates to spike, the bond market to crash. Now, will this really happen? It would hurt the Saudis too. And there are analysts who say this is not something to be too worried about. A massive sell-off would be difficult to accomplish for the Saudis and might cripple their economy. However, if nothing else, it indicates how serious the Saudis are about keeping the lid on the history of what really happened on September 11th, 2001. Now, it's interesting, this is all coming to light now almost 15 years later. 60 Minutes aired a report last weekend on the 28 pages from the official congressional report that have been withheld from the public, pages that allegedly confirm a Saudi connection to 9/11. Those pages are locked in a secure room in the basement at the Capitol building. Members of Congress can read it, but you and I can't. In the piece on 60 Minutes, former Senator Bob Graham told reporters that, and I quote, 19 people, most of whom didn't speak English, most of whom had never been in the United States before, many of whom didn't have a high school education, couldn't have carried out such a complicated task without some support from within the United States, end quote. To which most of us who've been looking at this with critical eyes over the last 15 years say, you think? Now, President Obama is visiting Saudi Arabia on Tuesday. My guess is that the 28 pages in the basement of the Capitol will not be on the agenda. But I say again, it's interesting that this is bubbling up in the mainstream media now. As with anything that makes the major media, you have to ask the question, who benefits? Cui bene? It could be that tension over the U.S. role in pushing through the nuclear agreement with Iran last summer has led to this confrontation. But for whatever reason, the media takes its cues from the global elites, and they seem to have an interest in pushing this confrontation. The New York Post published an article over the weekend by investigative journalist Paul Sperry, a man I respect. Something that the alternative media has known for years but is rarely mentioned by the major media is that Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11 was deliberately covered up at the highest levels of the United States government. Sperry reports that investigators that he's talked to tell how they were shut down by federal authorities, co-conspirators they wanted to indict, let off the hook. And even though case agents told Sperry that almost every lead they uncovered pointed back to the Saudi embassy in Washington or the Saudi consulate in Los Angeles, then Ambassador Prince Bandar bin Sultan was not only not investigated, the State Department actually assigned a security detail to protect him. And not just at the Saudi embassy, but at his mansion in McLean, Virginia. We'll see what comes of this, but it's about time the major media pays attention. In other news, Israel has destroyed a tunnel from Gaza into Israel. The Israel Defense Force saying its engineering corps found the new tunnel dug by Hamas into a small farming community in southern Israel. It is now an ex-tunnel. In Syria, they held parliamentary elections there last Wednesday. Bashar Assad's ruling Ba'ath Party, not surprisingly, won 200 out of the 250 seats. They claimed a voter turnout of more than 55%. The opposition in Syria claimed the election was a farce. Spokesman for the U.S. State Department said they were not credible or fair. Now, on the one hand, I get that. The Assad family has ruled Syria with iron fists for more than 50 years. But on the other hand, the fact that the people were able to vote might just indicate that the Syrians have more freedom than we're allowed here in the United States, at least in parts. So at least they were allowed to vote, unlike Republicans in Colorado, who found out that Ted Cruz swept the 34 delegates to the National Convention without being able to vote on them. And the announcement that Cruz had won those delegates was followed by this tweet from the Colorado GOP. They later apologized and deleted it, claimed that their account had been hacked. So anyway, is it wrong to ask if we Americans are being just a little hypocritical for criticizing the elections in Syria? And speaking of hypocrisy, Cirque du Soleil, the latest performing group to cancel shows in North Carolina over the state's new Public Facilities Privacy and Security Act. That's the law prohibiting transgenders from using public bathrooms intended for members of the opposite sex. The circus joins Bruce Springsteen, Jimmy Buffett, and Ringo Starr in canceling scheduled performances there. Filmmaker Michael Moore has also asked the distributor of his latest film, Where to Invade Next, not to show it in North Carolina. Given the early results on the film's opening, people in North Carolina might not notice. The funny thing is, though, that all of these performers are exercising their right to decline to provide a product or service because they disagree with the worldview of the prospective customers, people in North Carolina. This is exactly what religious freedom restoration bills are all about. Allowing Christians and other conservative religious folk, Jews and Muslims, the right to object on religious grounds to being compelled to provide a service or a product that they believe would cause them to violate their religious beliefs. Hypocrisy. They can't have it both ways. If they are entitled to withhold services because they disagree with the worldview of North Carolinians, then Christians should be allowed the same right. Otherwise, Cirque du Soleil, Bruce Springsteen, Jimmy Buffett, Ringo Starr should all be compelled to perform. Now, here's the added bit of hypocrisy. Cirque du Soleil has refused to go to North Carolina because of the state's perceived discrimination against the LGBT community, but it is going ahead with scheduled performances in the United Arab Emirates, where sex reassignment surgery is illegal, and it is illegal for gays to marry, adopt children, or serve in the military. And violation of those laws in the United Arab Emirates is punishable by fines, imprisonment, or death. That is the cherry of hypocrisy on top of a hypocrisy-iced layer cake of hypocrisy. And finally, NASA has discovered 6 dozen new NEOs. These are near-Earth objects, the result of a 2-year study by the winner of the acronym of the day award here, NEOWISE, which stands for Near-Earth Object Wide Field Survey Explorer. It found 72 previously unknown asteroids that orbit near Earth. Only 8 of those are classified as potentially hazardous. Now, a curious coincidence. 72 is also the number of demons identified in the Lesser Key of Solomon, which is a grimoire or spell book written in the 1600s intended to teach you how to summon demons. It is also the number of B'nai Elohim, or sons of God, to which the nations were allocated after the Tower of Babel. You see this in Deuteronomy 32, verse 8, when the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the peoples according to the number of the sons of God. These were the fallen who then allowed themselves to be worshiped as gods. It was not a coincidence in Luke chapter 10 when Jesus sent out the disciples. How many did he send? 72. A cosmic in your face to those rebellious fallen angels. Anyway, just a coincidence with the number of near-Earth objects. I thought it worth mentioning. This week, Nita Horn's new biography, which is inspiring, touching, will begin to ship. In fact, the official date it begins shipping is tomorrow, April 19th. No Fences is the name of the book, and she is rightfully proud of this. And because the proceeds from this are helping to pay for the new studio for our women's program here at SkyWatchTV, we are happy to take a little time to tell you a little bit more about it. When you purchase the book, you also get a journal so you can begin to record your story for your future generations, children and grandchildren. This is a $20 value. You also get a plastic pony. And the point of the pony is something you have to read the book to find out. And find out how this plastic pony finally culminated in Whispering Ponies Ranch, which is this week's program on SkyWatch TV, an update from Nita Horn and Tom Horn about what's happening at Whispering Ponies Ranch. We actually went out to the field and took some video there so they could explain and show you exactly what's going on. New facilities for these miniature horses, new facilities for people who will be visiting Whispering Ponies Ranch, and the purpose of Whispering Ponies Ranch. It's not entertainment. It's there to heal children who have been broken. And it's one of the reasons that Sharon and I were honored to become a part of SkyWatch TV. That airs this week, today, 8:30 p.m. Central Time on the Victory Television Network in Arkansas and around Memphis. Tomorrow on the Victory Television Network, the Christian Television Network, and WGGN TV 52 in Sandusky, Ohio, WLLA TV 64, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Wednesday on the Cornerstone Network, and then again next Saturday on the Victory Television Network and Coast to Coast on the Christian Television Network. Don't miss it. The Whispering Ponies update this week on SkyWatch TV. The Rocky Mountain International Prophecy Conference. It is sold out, but you can bring all 32 of the speakers to your home via streaming video, live streaming video from the Marriott in Colorado Springs during the conference. And of course, all of those videos will be archived for 6 weeks after the conference, so you can go back, watch them again, bring friends over, and share with them. 32 messages, 32 different speakers. For more information and to sign up, log on to prophecywatchers.com. Your support is vital to SkyWatch TV. In April, for your gift of $20 or more, we'll send you this thank you, an Amazing Grace glass block paperweight, and a copy of the Aramon Gate audiobook, Tom and Nita Horn's novel that describes what the future might look like. Again, that's our gift to you for your donation of $20 or more. To donate, log on to skywatchtv.com/donate. And of course, you can help us with just a click of your mouse. Click like, click share, and click subscribe at these places on the internet. And if you're curious about what I'm posting, including my new blog, which I've just added, you'll find those here, Twitter, Facebook, and of course my website, where the blog is now live. My email address for your comments, questions, and suggestions, dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. Thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV. To celebrate the release of Nita Horn's inspiring new book, No Fences, SkyWatch TV would like you to tell your story, because after all, even if you don't think so, you actually have a story.
Send in your story, and we are going to choose the 10 best, and they'll be published for Christmas release in an anthology of those stories, along with the book that you buy that is actually only $19.95. Am I right on that?
That's correct.
For free. Tom Horn, crazy guy, he's throwing in a journal, which on its own, most of these retail for $20 on their own. So this journal is to help you start writing your story. When you buy the book, not only are you going to be enrolled in this, and you can send in your story, but you'll get a plastic pony, you'll get a journal of your own, and the proceeds from the book are going to help fund the studio we're building for SkyWatch Women, and Nita Horn is going to be one of our panel members.
The 10 authors who are selected for the anthology, published by Defender Publishing in time for Christmas, will also receive a $500 cash prize.
That'll go a long way at Christmas time, won't it?
Yes, it will. Even if your story is not one of those selected for the anthology, if you've taken the time to write your story, you've left a legacy for your children and for your grandchildren.
Amen to that.
For complete instructions and details on this opportunity, please log on to skywatchtv.com/nofences.